Alright guys, coming back at you with a short video about supply and demand. That's what we're going to talk about today, was supply and demand. So what is supply and demand? It's very, very simple. Most basic concept in business, but I feel like it is way complicated in business classes and on videos and everything. So I'm going to go through this as simply as possible, because seriously, you'll watch like a video about this and it's just so complicated. I'm just like, it doesn't need to be that complicated, okay? All right, so let's get into the graphs a little bit, okay? So these are the graphs that they'll show you in every business 101 class and every economy 101 class. Anyone who ever describes supply and demand, they'll show you these graphs. So I want people to be able to understand them, because I didn't understand them for a long time. And I thought they were really confusing when they were first introduced to me. So I'm going to show you in 3 steps. I'm going to show you first the demand graph, then the supply graph, and then the price graph. So I'm just going to draw them on this notepad. All right, so this is the basic demand graph. Okay, so this is the price over on the y-axis, and this is the sales on the x-axis. Okay, so if the price is very high, although there could be a demand for it, they're going to have like 0 sales, right? Because no one's going to pay $1,000 for Apple. If there's a very low price for it, if there's a lot of demand, see a very low price, okay, then we get a ton of sales. Because, if I was selling apples for, I don't know, 1 a penny or something like that, then I'd have a lot more sales on my apples. But I just want to make, a profit, because although the price is high, or the sales are high, the price is really low, so I make less profit, Okay, and then we get supply. On the supply graph, it's different. On the y-axis here, we have profit, and on the x-axis, we have amount, or amount of sales, okay? As we sell more, profits go up. Pretty simple. The supply one is pretty simple. Okay, then what we do is we put them together. Okay, so this is where it always started confusing me, because they start labeling the axes. They label the axes the same, and so it's kind of confusing because they shouldn't be labeled the same, in my opinion. I'll show you it here. This is the graph that they'll show you in every class. I don't know why they never show you the graphs individually, but this is what they look like together, okay? So we have supply going up to the right and demand going down to the right. Yeah, it's kind of confusing. So I'm like looking at it here. Okay, so that goes down to the right, right? On the y-axis here, we have either profit or price, so how much they're profiting / how much they could sell for. And then on the bottom, we have the sales / or amount of product, okay? And this point here in the middle where they intersect is called the point of equilibrium. This is just the golden point where they can not sell any product, or not have any extra product, or not be selling their product too cheap, or where, right where the consumers will pay for it and get their money's worth, basically. This is the point of equilibrium. So the point of equilibrium is basically the golden point where everyone's happy. Supply all gets purchased up, and they make the maximum amount of profits. Okay, so there's a few terms we have to understand. So there is 4 things that can happen in the graph. There is the supply. It can either move to the left or to the right. So if the supply shifts to the left, then you'll get a higher point of equilibrium, which means the sales will be higher. Okay, that means they can sell products for more. And what would cause the supply to shift to the left? That means that the amount that they are producing has gone down. And that means that the sale price can go up, because the demand is still staying the same, right? It's still staying right here. So that means if the supply shifts over, then we raise the prices up. okay, because this all shifts over, and then the new equilibrium point will be up here. Okay, so that's supply shifting to the left. If the supply shifts to the right, that means there's an influx of that thing in the market. That means the supply is going to go, or the supply is going to go up, and that means we drop in profits. Example of this is the fidget spinners. I was saying about fidget spinners when I was making this video. As fidget spinners price goes, or at first when they came out, there was a lot of them. And so the supply, a lot of people were like, oh, I want to get on that fidget spinner plane. A lot of entrepreneurs, they wanted to get on the bandwagon. So they started making tons and tons and tons of fidget spinners. So then the demand went way down because like everyone already had them anyway. So the demand went down, but there were just more and more supply. So the supply bar, supply graph shifted to the right, and therefore the price lowered because the new point of equilibrium was down here where the demand was low, but the supply was very high. And that way it was, you know, that's why any fidget spinner companies or whatever started losing profits. That's why fidget spinners became lower in price, because the price dropped because there was more of them on the market. You know, why would anyone spend $10 on a fidget spinner anymore when you could spend $2 to get the same fidget spinner, right? Demand graph. Now this can either shift to the left or right. Okay, so why would the demand graph shift to the left? So let's go back to our fidget spinner example. If everyone has a fidget spinner, then the demand graph goes left, okay? Because everyone and their mom has a fidget spinner now. Okay, so the demand graph shifts to the left because everyone has one, no one needs it anymore. It's kind of, it was a fad, so like the demand graph shifts to the left because it goes out of style, right? Same thing happens with cell phones. After everyone gets a new smartphone, the sales go down because everyone has it. There's no more demand. And so the demand graph shifts over to the left. And that's why they come out with a new cell phone every year, because they understand economics and they understand that if you have cell phones that everyone needs, but then everyone has all of a sudden, then the demand will shift over and then the prices will drop down because the equilibrium point will be here and the price will drop down and the sales will drop down, you know, so it's bad all around for companies. Okay. Then we have demand shifting this way to the right. So this is interesting. So demand shifting to the right doesn't happen very often because it's never like, oh, that's a new need that people need. All right, let's look at like VR, virtual reality. So in virtual reality field, that's like a need that not that many people had, but now that it's being met, people realize, oh, that'd be kind of cool. I kind of want that now. Okay, so they used to be selling, you know, virtual reality stuff, you know, right here, let's say, at, I don't know, $100 for some virtual reality goggles. But then they realized, oh, so many people want this and the demand is so high that we can shift this over because so many people want it. So we can shift the demand graph over to the right here, right? So we can shift the demand graph over to the right, and then the point of equilibrium will raise, okay? So they can sell more of their supply, the profits go up, the sales go up, the price goes up. So like, that's what shifting the demand to the right means, okay? So those are the four things. You can have supply shifting to the left, supply shifting to the right, demand shifting to the left, and demand shifting to the right, okay? And that's what all those things do. Okay, then there's like surplus, and what's the other word? So then there's what's called surplus and shortage, which is basically pretty simple. If the supply is too high and there's not a demand being met, then they have a surplus. Because the demand, so if the supply is really high up here, okay, so they have all this supply, but the demand is going to be like right here, right? So that means they have like way more supply than they can make sales for, so they have a surplus, right? Because the supply is way up here, but the demand's way down here at the same time. So they're not going to make as many sales, and the price is going to eventually have to drop down so they can make sales here. Since they're only making sales at this price and they have this much, they're going to have a surplus. And then there's shortage. Let's talk about Yeezys. So Yeezy shoes, they do this on purpose. Okay, so they have like a shortage of these. All designer clothing does this, you know. They have like, they sell 5 or whatever, you know. They sell like 20 handbags from some, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. So like, let's talk about like Supreme. They do this too. So they sell like a very limited amount of hoodies, and since there's a shortage, the demand is crazy high up here. So they sell like 1,000 hoodies, but they can sell them at like $150 a piece, you know, because so many people want them. They could sell them like all the way up here. And so there's a shortage, but that's kind of inflated. But there can also be a shortage in like natural resources, or, you know, like gold has a shortage. More people want gold than there is gold, okay? So that's why the price can be so high. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Just a little bit more on the educational side of business. I do like people to understand business. I think it's very important to understand business in life and how everything works in the markets. I like to pride myself on being as simple as possible when I'm explaining this stuff, and like bringing a little bit of relevance to it as well. I don't like a lot of the fluff that a lot of people bring to their videos about supply and demand, so hopefully this one was enjoyable and understandable. And if you were having any confusion with it, or still are, you know, I'll actually answer comments in the comment section below. If you want to comment on this video, I will go and talk with you about it if you need help with it or anything, if you're not understanding it. And if you see a comment in the comment section below that you could answer people's question, yeah, have fun in the comments. But yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.